What are your thoughts on what is going on over there?
It's looking bad. It's not looking good over there, especially with all the
Yeah.
destruction we see.
Is she real?
Mhm.
We don't know. Is she Kalle? Is she not?
You called that spot on.
He's losing it.
I mean, do you blame him?
Hello and welcome to Road Goes Ever On and On. Today, Mark and I are talking about the hit science fiction Apple TV Plus series Foundation Season 3, Episode 9, The Paths That Choose Us, so spoilers are ahead. And if you're enjoying our content, then a like would be appreciated. If you don't want to miss a single one of our breakdowns, especially since Only Murders in the Building Season 5 is right up next, then just be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications. And with that, let's start like the show in New Terminus. What are your thoughts on what is going on over there?
It's looking bad. It's not looking good over there, especially with all the destruction we see.
It was a very brutal start to the episode.
Oh, yeah. Just this moment, we get kind of the first interaction of like Gaal seeing what the mule can kind of do to somebody. And it was pretty horrifying. Like, this is, we don't see a lot of horror elements in this show, but like just this creepy feeling, and the warden just like being immensely full of love, and as she's being dragged down into that water, just that creepy smile, and just seeing the mule under there, like he's got that grasp. It was just
and kind of like that second revelation, that because when I watched that, to me it seemed like he had such a strong grip on her that like he could do that from a distance, and he was the one that was doing that. But then later on, when we find out that Gaal says that she basically did that to herself.
Yeah. Well, and so I wonder if it's like almost like a failsafe, right? Like the mule puts it into people, and it's like technically it is the mule, but the warden is the one controlling it. So like because the warden is like, oh no, Gaal's in here now, I'm being pulled back. Like I'm gonna pull myself back because that's what the mule would want me to do. Or if it's like a failsafe that the mule just puts in them, I don't know. But it was crazy, and just the amount of like bodily horror that was happening as she's succumbing to this, and the whole time talking about love, and it's just very eerie.
Yeah, I feel like the show, because it covers such a large scale of time, such a large space, this whole galaxy, I feel like it's able to kind of change up. The different cultures can make it feel different. Most shows have kind of like a general vibe, that they kind of carry throughout. And I feel like this one is a little bit more malleable. So it's not that weird for it to dip its toes into horror.
Yeah, definitely. I do feel like this season has felt more of like that creepier side of things, like, with kind of Micah Jin, which we'll get to, but like, that had a little bit of like horror elements in it. And this season has just felt like very high stakes. And I think that has helped lean into those horror aspects where it's like, there are consequences if we don't succeed in this. And like, what's going to happen? We still don't know.
And it feels like it still has tricks up its sleeves. The fact that Harry said to Gaal, and then the camera cut away before we could find out what it was, that the mule story doesn't add up, So were we lied to about his past, or is there more going on? The surprise that like Maggie, who we thought was like rescued from the mule, is actually has been for quite some time one of the mule's kind of puppets.
So I was a little, so I feel like I have a hard time understanding the mule's power, because like I know he can like influence people and he can make them do things, and we know he's now with this, we know he's been in Maggie's head, but also if the mule could control Maggie from wherever he was, then wouldn't he make Maggie come back to him? Because he did seem irate that they took Maggie. So it doesn't seem like he can, like, it's like he's in there, right? Like almost like how he was in the Warden. but maybe not necessarily like able to pull strings and make them do things while they're there.
Right.
And so or does Maggie's love of Beta able to, because like they talk about he does this with love, right? He like can influences people to do this. It's the most love they've ever felt. And could there potentially be that because Maggie loves Beta maybe more than he loves what the Mule has fueled him, he can kind of resist the Mule's power? I don't know if that's how it works, but it's interesting to think about it.
I actually like the fact that they've kind of left it a little bit vague, and it does make sense that, you know, like you wouldn't want to do the Bond villain thing and have, you know, the Mule capture somebody and then explain his powers and his whole plan and then say, I'm just going to leave you tied up to this table as I do this other stuff. You know, I think it makes sense why they haven't explained it. And because they haven't explained it, it allows them to like still have some surprises of like, what exactly is his power? How exactly does it work? Like, is there a reach to it? You know, does it work over great distances? Does it, you know,
how is it going to match up with Gaal?
Right.
Her power. Yeah.
Yeah. And we now see that, I mean, I think we kind of knew that like Gaal had been working on her stuff for some time, but it was interesting seeing her do the whole like sleep thing that we had seen from season 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like we're really seeing more and more that like she really has trained up her mental powers and she is herself quite formidable.
Oh yeah.
It's wild that she thinks it's like they need to meet up to the death.
Right. So one thing, again, going back to these Mule's powers, that I don't know if it makes sense to me.
Okay.
We see that, you know, like when the Mule brings down New Terminus, when he first took Calgon, he was able to like reach into minds that were like fairly far away in ships. Like he could like pinpoint and be like, all right, these ships are going to start firing on each other now. So like when they have these like little safe houses, I don't know like how the Mule couldn't find them in the safe houses and be able to be like, all right, well, I know there's people in here. Let's bring them out or whatever. Like he was able to like project his mind into people he couldn't see up in space. So like, why couldn't he be able to do that to these safe houses is kind of what I didn't understand quite. Like, I feel like it's very hard to resist fighting the Mule. Like you can't have little like bands of rebels because he'll just infiltrate you and then destroy that.
But he could like see those ships. So if he could like, if he sends his power out in a direction, he's like, I see it there, so I'm going to send it out there. Versus the safe house, like he doesn't know where they are. You know, I imagine that like if you are spreading something out in an ever growing circle, that it would get like weaker and weaker. Versus, you know, like having a strong, focused power thing, one direction.
And I know the Calgon one, the ships were like in, you know, not in space, but like the New Terminus ones, they felt like they were in space. So like I feel like
in
that
space, yeah.
Like because like how would you know, like if you're directing it and you can't see in space where the ships are, how do you know where you're pointing at it? And maybe you could just tunnel it or like funnel it, but then he's in a spaceship right now, or in his ship that's orbiting New Terminus. So wouldn't that be the same effect? Like, couldn't he just point it at New Terminus in that regard and pull out all the people? That was my one little hiccup on that. But, you know, and I understand why we got to do that. We have to show that there is a little hope that we can resist the Mule and his powers. But that was my one little hang up with his powers.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I do think that the show has, for the most part, like seen things like that. Maybe not that exact one, but like seen plot holes like that and then explained it away. When Harry and the Mule have their confrontation, you know, you could be asking like, well, if Harry could kill that one guy, you know, in like season 2 and do like the Hober Mallow thing, why wouldn't he kill the Mule? And then that was explained. When the Mule and Dusk are talking to each other, I kind of had a question in my head of like, Dusk is about to kill these 3 planets. Like, why doesn't he just take out New Terminus? And then the mule kind of gave the answer of, if basically like if he could take out New Terminus, he would have. So obviously he can't,
Right. And I thought that was a great explanation of that. And I like how it came back to the big stick, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Dusk has always been talking about having the big stick.
Yeah.
And the mule referencing the big stick, I thought was great. But it makes sense, right? Like, so, Trantor, heart of the galaxy, they talk about like Trantor can't get to certain places without the jump port. And that's kind of where New Terminus is, like on the outer side of the galaxy. So shooting the Maiden and the other one makes complete sense. Makes sense why I couldn't hit New Terminus. I love that explanation.
Loved it. You've been saying some stuff about this Harry. And I think this episode very much confirmed what you had been saying, that there's like something wrong with this one. I don't know if he's going a little cray-cray. And we did see that happen with the other Harry when he was trapped in the Prime Radiant.
Right.
Like dealing with the extra. Now that was more because he was like trapped in the Prime Radiant, and like his brain that's used to a 3D world was struggling of being in a higher dimensional world. So we did see that digital Harrys can kind of go mad. So I don't know if it's like more of that, or if he's got some issues. And I think it's funny that like he was always like the puppet master pulling the strings, right? And I feel like he is now the puppet. So it's like the puppet master has become the puppet, and he hates it.
I think that's kind of why he's breaking, right? Like, I think that if you look at like Harry Seldon and how he always puppets, and we know that this Harry Seldon in the vault is pretty much an exact copy of Harry Seldon. And we see in the last season, like he helps New Terminus or he helps regular Terminus, as he rescued them. And he finds out that like he's not the one that, like, he thought he was the mastermind in the vault. Like he thought he was the one controlling everything. And last season he learns that there's a second foundation and he was kept in the dark. Then it's like, this is still Harry Seldon, right? This is still the consciousness of Harry Seldon in some weird way. And so like this Harry Seldon, of course he's mad. And he's like, I want to be the one in control. Like that's why he gave her the Prime Radiant, or Demerzel the Prime Radiant. And, like Gaal says, he's just making a bunch of noise, but I think it's because he feels slighted by Harry himself.
And it's funny that like the roles feel very swapped. Now Gaal is using him, and Gaal is keeping information from him so that she can use her. And these are the kind of tactics that Harry used to employ, of using people and lying to them in order to be able to use them to get what you want. But
there was something interesting about that scene when she comes out with Harry and she says, he doesn't know Harry's dead. Don't tell him, which I'm assuming she was projecting to Pritchard and like the other two no names.
And the red shirts.
Yeah, the other red shirts that will soon expire, which
we're getting a little bit more time with them. So maybe they are becoming
They have names. They have names now. I like how they color coded everybody, like the Power Rangers as they walked up. We have purple, orange, green, red, blue. That was great. But the scene in question, when she says, don't tell him, Harry looks at her like he heard her say it.
It did kind of look like that to me. And I didn't know if that was just a coincidence, because
my first watch through, maybe a coincidence. At first, I thought she might have been talking to Harry, but he looks right at her as she says it, and kind of like, and I'm thinking, we saw the mule can't get into his thoughts, right? Because he doesn't really have like a thought to get into. But we don't know the power of the vault. The vault has a null field. Can the vault reach into people. Like Harry has always felt a few steps ahead. He's known about Demerzel in the vault. He talked to Day in the vault. Like he has always seemed like several steps ahead and unworried that they were in there. So it's like, can he read thoughts in the vault? Can the vault access your consciousness? I don't know, but it did seem like he heard her.
Yeah.
And then right after that is when he said the Mule story doesn't add up. And right. I'm nervous because he wants something from the Mule, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like he just wants the Mule to be done. He might be serving them up to the Mule on a platter.
Right. You think that this could become a bad Harry?
I mean, he's already been kind of giving me bad vibes. Like, he didn't save them. He seems selfish, like he wants the body. He doesn't care about the math of psychohistory anymore. He doesn't care. He just wants to exist, and he wants to have a say in it. Like, he doesn't want to be the puppet. He wants to be the puppet master, like you were saying. So I do feel like I could see this Harry being like, I'm mad that you slighted me. I'm giving you to the Mule. I want something from the Mule. And you guys are my ticket to get that thing.
Yeah.
I could see it.
I did want to say two things about Gaal's potential future.
Okay.
So when, I know this was episodes ago, but when Gaal and Demerzel met up and Demerzel was able to access Gaal's visions by basically making her think that she was going to die. First vision we know about, that was the Mule. Second vision, Gaal said, like, I haven't been able to see anything further than that in the future. And Demerzel, because she's a robot, is able to identify a certain frequency, which is related to like the ergosphere of a black hole or something like that. I completely forgot about this until the recap at the beginning of this episode, that Dusk's weapon is powered by a black hole. And I don't think it's a coincidence to have two black hole references in one show.
Same. And there's no other black hole speak. I thought that exact same thing when they were talking about the recap. And then he does say it also when he's showing it off to the three planets. And we know it's by Trantor. We know they're going to Trantor at some point. But like, how does Gaal get to that weapon? I don't know. I had the same thought.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know more than that. Basically, you know, there's a connect the dots puzzle, and I'm basically saying that I'm pretty sure that these two dots are closely related, but I don't know how, and I don't know like what bigger picture it forms. Just that I do think that maybe the black hole that she's like circling or whatever it is the one related to that weapon. And then I had theorized, you know, during that episode that, you know, the time dilation caused by a black hole could be the thing that allows her to go another 100 years in the future without, you know, aging much. I do wonder if, you know, with the Prime Radiant has extra dimensions, it is able to do things that don't make sense to us as three-dimensional beings. And that's all talking about space. I did theorize a long time ago whether or not that also is related to time, whether it can, you know, in its multi-dimensions, kind of somewhat connect the past and the present, future, anything along those lines. And so it does make me wonder, and this is wild theory that I don't necessarily feel strongly about.
Okay.
But is there any possibility that Kalle is like a future Gaal?
So I thought I started kind of percolating about that. And I also kind of started percolating if the Mule was like a past Harry in a way, or like I don't really subscribe to the Mule being Harry as much, but I did start wondering if Gaal was Kalle. The couple things that make me think no, potentially.
Yeah.
First thing, the accents are different, but you know, if you are in time, like, so Gaal has like a Australian or New Zealand accent, and Kalle is very much like I don't know if she's just like a regular or not regular. Regular is not the right word, but an English accent or like a British accent, an American accent or a British accent. That's more what I meant. So I don't know if that's her or not, but also we've only seen Kalle in the Prime Radiant and then once a little bit with Harry a couple times. So in the Prime Radiant, she could change her voice. She could change her scars and not have the scars on her. But I did kind of ponder that, but I don't know if I also fully subscribe to it either.
Yeah, I forgot about the scars, which are a pretty strong identifier. Although if this like body is a digital representation, that could alter sound, look, whatever. Yeah, once again, I didn't feel like super strong about it. It was just more of like,
I had a similar thought with that too. So, but here's another thing. I don't necessarily think we will do a time jump next season.
That's what I said last episode.
I know you said, yeah. And I'm agreeing with that. Yes. I totally agree with you. I don't think there is a time jump. And the reason being, and I started thinking about this because what you were saying, like, we've only been 10 days in this, right?
Yeah.
Demerzel sees the Prime Radiant stops 4 months from now. So, and it does feel like that I don't think that Gaal and the Mule, especially with the conversation between Demerzel and Kalle, I don't think they're going to be in that library next episode. Like, I feel like a lot of this is going to take place on the Mule ship, Dawn. I think this season and the fourth season, this is like probably like the halfway of that fourth season.
Or I could potentially see a small time jump. Like something crazy happens here that definitely has ripple effects. And then maybe we see 4 months later, after, those consequences have had time to like ripple out and change a bunch of things, so that we're still dealing with a lot of the same people, but that it has changed a number of things in some way or other. So I could see that as a very real possibility.
Yeah. And, I could see like with this like ragtag group of people, which we've been wrong before because I kind of felt like this way with Hober Mallow and Constant, that we would see them continue on. But seeing that group that they had, other than the two red shirts, who will most likely die instantly when they get on that ship, I think that we could see more of them. Like there's a lot of these characters that don't feel as fleshed out as previous seasons that I could see them continuing to flesh them out a little bit more, like Maggie, Torin, Beta, Pritcher,
Dr. Ebling Miss.
Yeah.
He's like just been teased and I'd like to see more of him.
Yeah. But you were definitely right about Dusk using that weapon to hit those guys where they hurt. Like, you called that spot on.
He's losing it.
I mean, do you blame him? It looks like Empire is falling.
Okay, I don't blame him for defending himself. Although, considering the fact that he is going to be retired in like a day at this point, does he really need to defend himself? Like maybe this would be a good time to just accept his fate. But I don't blame him for defending himself. It's the dickish things that he's doing on top of that. Like, I don't mind when, the Dusk is, or the Mule has killed a bunch of people. I don't mind that Dusk said, "In my last hours, I will not bow to a usurper named after a farm animal." Great dig. Love it.
Love it.
And the Mule is a bad guy. So, cool. Don't like this one. He blows up 2 planets, and then before blowing up the third, turns to the person connected to that and says, "I always thought calling a planet the Maiden was just asking for it to be deflowered." I know these people were going to hand you up, and I know that you think you're protecting yourself by blowing up these planets. But do you really also need to be a dick about it?
I don't necessarily think he's losing it in that sense. I think that that's always what Cleon is, right? Like, Cleon is usually a very...
Yeah, he's a big stick guy.
And he's very chauvinistic about it. Like, think about all the times Day has thrown it in people's faces, like that what he's doing to them, and like has been so smug about it. And I feel like if I was Dusk, and of all the Cleons that we've seen this season, he is the one that seems most traditional Cleon. And so I don't see that out of the realm of possibility of how he would say things, because he just is like, both of his brothers are gone. He sits on the throne alone. He's ascending tomorrow. And he was basically feeling betrayed by the Galactic Council. And I feel like I'd kind of be a dick too. Like, they were all just like, yeah, we forget you. You're going down. We don't care. And we're giving him Trantor. And like, he also knows that it's not going to help. So he's just like, well, you brought this upon yourself. Now, do I agree with what he did? No. He killed a lot of people. That's bad.
It was like essentially amounts to genocide. And then he's glib about it on top of that, because then he also makes the comment of like, this was just to notify you. Yeah. And he has the Gaal after destroying these three people's planets, before they even have time to grieve the losses. He has the balls to say he's not killing them. Empire is merciful.
Yeah, that was crazy. But I mean, he hates these people right now. They all voted to kill him. They all voted to give him to the Mule. But that is
to think that Empire is merciful after doing that, and then to think that after Quent witnessing that she's just gonna like casually eat with you, like, look, I made this badass dinner. I know I just committed genocide, destroyed billions, but want to eat? And then he's shocked that she's shocked, and he even tries to explain himself, and he's like, it's not my fault. You told them not to push me.
Yeah, right. Pass the buck. But I mean, he does, I don't agree with Dusk, and I think Quent had a very reasonable reaction, but he does make a good point. Like, you believe in Harry, who's killed a bunch of people in the name of psychohistory, and you're fine with that, but like, I'm killing people to save Empire, right? Which wouldn't that... Granted, he killed way more people.
It was much more like it was indiscriminately that people were killed, versus like, I think that Harry's very focused, and I feel like Harry carried the weights of those deaths.
Yeah. He felt guilty about it.
Versus like making glib comments about it afterwards.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fair. And also that weapon is very terrifying. I don't know if you felt the same way about it, but like, I feel like when we've seen something like a planet killer in other science fiction, such as Star Wars, they have to like charge up the Death Star. It blows up the planet. It's very loud. It's very like huge explosion. And it feels like it needs to recharge before they can shoot it. And this was just like, boom, 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 silent, dead, gone, dust. Like, that felt just like a terrifying weapon to have in this universe. Like, even regardless of like what happens after the Mule, that weapon still exists. And that and of course, maybe it might not after Gaal goes into it, but
that's got to take an incredible amount of energy. Mm-hmm. So like, after they blow up a planet, they have to like find a USB port to like plug the Death Star in for probably like 2-3 days.
Yeah.
Versus like, that weapon is like, it's powered by a black hole, which has got a ton of power.
Yeah. And like with the Death Star, like when they blow up Alderaan, it's right next to Alderaan.
Right.
This thing just shot 3 planets way far away from each other. Like, they were nothing. And it just turned them to dust. That is terrifying.
It really is absolutely terrifying.
Also, what we saw with this meeting, and especially with Demerzel, she's starting to tell people she's Empire now.
Yeah.
Before, it was very much like Empire is Empire, and Demerzel is very much like, in the beginning of that meeting, she says, I'm Empire. She tells the librarian she's Empire.
Right.
I feel like she's really stepping into not caring that people know she's Empire.
I don't know if it's like not caring or if it's like more and more her hand is forced, you know? Before she had the three of them that she could hide behind and pretend that they are the power while she's like quietly pulling the strings. But there's basically no puppets left.
Yeah.
How does she pretend that they are Empire if they aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, when she went to the librarian, that was the one that got me.
Yeah.
Was she just, I am Empire. Like, that's for what's been going on and how Dawn went in there and was able to, get the ninth proof, and Demerzel just willy-nilly telling the librarian, it just feels like she's trying to keep Empire alive, and she's like, it's me. I'm Empire. I am the Empire.
It also, with every action that she takes, and, as long as she lives, she sees the consequences of those actions rippling out to hundreds of years later. I think she potentially is getting to a point, like she mentioned that like she used to be able to go the exact same path down the maze, and now she is like thinking of every possibility. I think that more and more it's becoming a reality in her head that regardless of what she does, it's still going to the same conclusion that is what her programming works against. And so I think it's like a paradox is building up in her, and it's really messing with her programming and even getting her to question her own motives of like, I'm pretty sure I am going to do this because I did do this. So like, I know that future me did this, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it, but am I doing it for the right reason? Right. I think in the past, like maybe she wanted to escape Empire, but I don't think that she thought that what she did was because of that. Like the programming always suppressed that. So she could secretly have that want, but she could never act on it. And now for the first time this season, we're seeing her wonder whether or not she's actually making actions based off of that.
Yeah. That whole conversation with her and Kalle felt so... I've always felt sad for Demerzel. Like, she just seems like such a tortured character. And partially, like, when she talks to Kalle is an artificial intelligence too. Is she a robot? Like, is it that same consciousness? Because when she recognizes Demerzel and she's talks to her, she's like, it's really sad to see you as this, like, you're not connected with anyone. You're this lone little piston that's doing its own thing. And she empathizes with her because I think that she might be like that same, whatever that is, where they can connect the consciousness.
Yeah.
I think that because she says, like, are you Kalle? And she's like, well, Harry thought I was the Prime Radiant. So, like, yes, she takes the form of Kalle because of the ninth proof and how the Prime Radiant was created. I do think that she is a robot. And I feel like this is the first interaction that Demerzel's had with a robot in so long. And maybe not robot, that's not the right word, but AI, consciousness, whatever that is.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, I think that they've intentionally kept it vague what Kalle is, the same way that they've intentionally kept vague what the Mule's powers are, so that they can still surprise us with, like, with the Mule, it's like they get to surprise us with what the Mule can do because they never clearly said, oh, this is what his powers are. So when we kind of think we understand them and then something else happens, it's like, oh, crap, we didn't know that he could do this. With Kalle, they've already implied she may not be Kalle. Like, is she just the programming of this, or is she a person that's inside of the Prime Radiant? Like, is she real?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. Is she Kalle? Is she not? She kind of implied that she might not be Kalle because she didn't she say something like, oh, Harry called me, because Harry saw his wife at one point.
Well, and I think that's who they're referencing when she says there was a third mother who built the walls. I think that's referring to Harry's wife.
So are the three of them, do you think Demerzel is the third because she added like the extra information to complete?
Correct. So I think so the Prime Radiant was built with her memories, but like also Kalle's proof. And so then the third one who built the walls was, I think, Harry's wife. Yeah.
So it's like, to me, I think they've kept it intentionally vague as to, is Kalle real or programming? Like, is she a person or is she a machine? Is it Kalle or is it something else? Like, so that I think there are potential surprises that they can play around with.
Oh yeah. It was interesting to see this version of Kalle basically tell Demerzel, like, you can offer them a safe haven, but then you can betray them later if it suits your programming for what it means to keep Empire alive. And that felt kind of scary a little bit. It felt like the Prime Radiant was turning on Foundation a little bit.
I don't know if it was turning on Foundation so much as it was like helping Demerzel to not get stuck just trying to crunch numbers that are like, these calculations have got to be so big that they have to be uncrunchable. Like, maybe you can get like a close approximation, but there can't be a way that you can like get down to the definite truth.
Right.
And so to me, it seemed like she was like relieving some of that pressure of, look, you don't have to do all the math and figure out what are your intentions. And if your intentions aren't pure, then you need to stop yourself. Like, you can do the thing and then you can decide later what your intentions are.
That's okay. It almost giving her like a way out of that. Because like, kind of like you're saying, she gets gridlock in the calculations and she's like, does nothing because she doesn't know which way helps Empire.
Right. Like, well, what if at some point it's like, a computer program that like gets one of those like loops that it gets stuck in, and she like gets stuck in this logic loop of, I'm pretty sure this is the right thing, but what if I'm doing it for the wrong reason? Then is it the right thing? And it like prevents her from being able to actually act out on things.
That's fair. And maybe Kalle, that's part of Kalle's plan, or the Prime Radiant's plan, whatever you want to believe it is, to try to help the Foundation, is to just be like, it's okay, Demerzel, you can help them at first and then see what helps Empire later. And speaking of best Empire.
Best Empire.
Best day. Best day.
Man, I'm a little bummed we lost Sunmaster because I thought he was a commanding presence. I think he could have been a fun baddie to set up for like season 4.
And it's the prophecy, right? Like, the profane man is going to do this, but the prophecy says that that Daniil will come and Daniil will save them. And so there's the profane man that's going to try to stop it. And then Day, I don't know the full prophecy if there's like a version of like, there is somebody that stops the profane man. But I mean, it was great to see Day kick his ass.
Yeah.
I loved it. I am sad though, because I did feel like we didn't even get that much Sunmaster this episode of him being like his weird self. We got a nice little fight scene, but that part for me when Song saves him and he goes back for the head and she's like, you gotta go. He's like, I'm doing it to save her, which is Demerzel. Day has had so much disdain for Demerzel, but yet he like weirdly has known her as a mother. And, it shows the part where he's laying on her lap, listening to her tune. And that, man, it just makes me love this Day even more. Like, we've never seen like a Day that has tried to like help others. And now he's grabbing this robot head so that he can take it to Demerzel and potentially free her and help her. And I love this Day.
Yeah. And I think that robot head could be the one thing that could figure out how to like break her programming potentially.
Yeah, well, and that's what Day said. He said, I know it will. Like, I know it will get her out of it. And it's you know why I think it'll get her out of it? So they're trying to establish the link, right? So they're doing that like call to like reconnect.
Yes.
And we talk about Demerzel being alone and not connecting. And now if she connects with that, potentially that programming in there can be like, I'm not bound by this. I can stop it for you. Let me cut that out of you. Oh gosh, I hope so.
I hope so too. And it's another reason that I hope that next season doesn't have too big of a time jump forward is because I want more of this Day. Like, he's got such a positive arc compared to all the other Days. Dawns, I feel like Dawns, there have been some very good Dawns because they haven't accepted all of the wisdom of like the Days and the Dusks that eventually get them into this whole like empire mold, that eventually makes them kind of bad people.
I mean, we've seen every Dawn try to leave.
Right.
Every season, a Dawn is trying to get out of what Empire is.
Yeah.
Dawn is always like uncorrupted, and then it's like he becomes Day, and then the weight of the responsibility becomes like, okay, well, I have to do all this. Demerzel's pushing me to this. And then by that time, Dusk is so jaded that he's just like, big stick 'em, everyone sucks. I'm the best there is, And I don't think there is going to be a time jump. And I feel like there's just so much that needs to be wrapped up. And I don't think you can do it in one final episode, right? Because we only have one left, I believe.
Yeah. Only one left. Yeah.
So I don't see like with Day getting to Demerzel, Dusk having to be ascended, and Gaal fighting the Mule. We still have Dawn stuck on the Mule ship. There's so much to resolve. I don't know how they could do it all in just one episode. Maybe it's an hour and a half episode.
That's what I was about to say. Is like that's with streaming, we're not tied to an amount of time with appropriate spaces for ad breaks. Now you can have a 45-minute episode here and an hour 10-minute episode there. I think most of the episodes have been closer to like 50-ish minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's honestly, right. an hour 10 would probably be sufficient to wrap up all of this stuff.
Maybe.
Be a twite episode, but I think it'd be. I mean, like, I want to spend more time with everybody, but
we also still have Harry, evil Harry, that we have to worry about. Like, feels like a huge thing. Part of me just still feels like it would be really hard to end all of this in one episode. But then it's also like, could they drag out a whole nother season based on what's going on right now? That might be tricky too. So potentially, but
that's why it's like, to me, this doesn't quite feel like, I don't know if this feels quite like a middle, because it seems like everything has come to a head. Like, I wonder whether or not something pivotal causes huge ripple effect, and then we have like 4 months later and we now have different but related problems, and we're potentially still dealing with like the Mule. But we'll see. Very soon.
We'll see. We got one episode left, and then we are finishing Foundation. But with that, our journey has come to an end. Thank you folks so much for joining along. This week, we will be coming out next with our first episode of Only Murders in the Building Season 5. And then after that, we will be finishing Foundation and continuing with Only Murders. But until then, I'm Mark. This is Sterling.
Thanks.